The Battle of Salamis, fought in 480 BCE, stands as a pivotal moment in ancient military history, where the Greek city-states secured a decisive naval victory against the expansive Persian Empire under King Xerxes I. This engagement not only showcased strategic brilliance, but also altered the trajectory of Western civilization. Hi there, I'm Kyle, the host of History of Human Evolution, with a PhD in history and a love for storytelling. I'm here to guide you through the fascinating journey of our species. If you like to explore the past, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share your thoughts below. The roots of the Battle of Salamis lie in the expansionist ambitions of the Persian Empire and the ongoing conflict between Greece and Persia. A decade earlier, in 490 BCE, King Darius I of Persia launched the first Persian invasion of Greece, seeking to punish Athens and Eretria for their support of the Ionian Revolt. This invasion culminated in the Battle of Marathon, where the vastly outnumbered Athenians dealt a humiliating defeat to the Persian forces. Darius's ambitions remained unfulfilled, but his death in 486 BCE left the task of subjugating Greece to his son, Xerxes I. Determined to avenge the Persian defeat and expand his empire westward, Xerxes spent years assembling one of the most formidable invasion forces the ancient world had seen. According to Herodotus, this army numbered in the hundreds of thousands, supported by a fleet drawn from across the vast Persian realm: Phoenicians, Egyptians, Cypriots, and Anatolians, each contributing ships and warriors to the imperial war machine. In the summer of 480 BCE, Xerxes launched his invasion, crossing the Hellespont on massive pontoon bridges and advancing through Thrace and Macedonia unopposed. The Greek city-states, deeply divided by internal rivalries, faced an existential threat. Under the leadership of Athens and Sparta, an alliance was forged to resist the Persian advance. The first major engagement occurred at Thermopylae, where King Leonidas I of Sparta and his small force of 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and other Greek allies made their legendary stand against the Persian onslaught. Despite their valor, they were ultimately overwhelmed when a Greek traitor, Ephialtes, revealed a hidden mountain path, allowing the Persians to outflank the defenders. The fall of Thermopylae left central Greece open to invasion. With no effective land defense remaining, Athens was evacuated, and the city was left vulnerable. The Persian army marched south, burning Athens to the ground, destroying its temples and sacred sites in an act of retribution. The remaining Greek forces withdrew to the island of Salamis, where the Athenian general Themistocles devised a bold plan. He understood that Greece's only chance of survival lay at sea. Themistocles proposed drawing the Persian fleet into the narrow straits of Salamis, where their numerical advantage would be neutralized. His strategy hinged on exploiting Persian overconfidence, knowing that Xerxes, eager to deliver a final crushing blow, might be lured into a naval engagement under unfavorable conditions. To ensure that the Persian fleet took the bait, Themistocles sent a false message to Xerxes, claiming that the Greek alliance was on the brink of collapse and that Athens was willing to surrender. Convinced of an imminent victory, Xerxes ordered his fleet into the Straits of Salamis, setting the stage for one of the most decisive naval battles in history. The Battle of Salamis brought together two vastly different naval forces, each representing the strategic ambitions of their respective civilizations. On one side, King Xerxes I's Persian fleet, a massive armada assembled from across the Persian Empire, sought to crush the last vestiges of Greek resistance. On the other, the Greek coalition, led by Athens, aimed to exploit the terrain and naval tactics to counter their numerical disadvantage. The Persian navy was a colossal force, estimated to have initially numbered between 600 and 1,200 warships. These vessels came from Phoenicia, Egypt, Cyprus, Cilicia, Caria, and Ionia, reflecting the vast expanse of the Persian Empire. Each regional contingent brought its own naval traditions and strengths. Phoenician ships were considered the fastest and most maneuverable. Egyptian vessels were heavily built, providing strong ramming capabilities. Ionian Greeks, though subject to Persian rule, contributed both sailors and ships to the fleet. The Persian fleet was commanded by a diverse set of admirals, including Ariobarnes, Xerxes' brother, as well as Queen Artemisia I of Caria, whose leadership and tactical insight distinguished her during the battle. Despite this impressive array of forces, the Persian navy was not a unified fighting force but rather a coalition of regional fleets, each operating with varying degrees of coordination and effectiveness. Facing this massive armada, the Greek coalition could muster approximately 370 triremes, with the Athenian navy providing the majority. The fleet was commanded by Themistocles, who had spent years advocating for naval expansion in Athens, recognizing that Greek survival depended on control of the sea. The Greek ships were triremes, sleek, fast warships designed for speed and maneuverability. Each trireme carried a crew of about 170 rowers, who were highly trained in coordinated movement, allowing the vessels to execute complex tactical maneuvers in battle. Unlike the Persian fleet, which relied on sheer numbers, the Greek navy emphasized discipline and strategy, leveraging their superior knowledge of the local waters. The fleet was composed of contingents from various Greek city-states, including Athens, largest contingent, around 200 triremes, Corinth, Aegina, Sparta, other smaller allied cities. The Greeks, though heavily outnumbered, had one critical advantage: the geography of the Straits of Salamis. Themistocles positioned his fleet in the narrow waters, where the Persian numbers would be difficult to maneuver effectively. By forcing the battle into these confined straits, the Greeks neutralized the Persian numerical advantage and created the conditions for a decisive engagement. The two fleets, one built on sheer size and imperial ambition, the other on discipline and tactical positioning, now prepared to clash in a battle that would decide the fate of Greece. Themistocles understood that facing the Persian fleet in open waters would be disastrous. The sheer size of Xerxes' navy, with its vast numbers of ships from Phoenicia, Egypt, and Anatolia, could easily outflank and overwhelm the smaller Greek force. A conventional engagement would favor the Persians, who relied on their numerical advantage and the ability to encircle their enemy. Instead, Themistocles devised a strategy to neutralize Persian superiority by forcing the battle into the narrow straits of Salamis. The Persian fleet, though formidable, had significant weaknesses. It was a multinational force, with commanders from various satrapies, each accustomed to different styles of naval warfare. Coordination between these contingents was difficult, particularly when operating in restricted waters. Xerxes' personal presence on a throne overlooking the battle from a vantage point at Mount Aigaios meant that Persian admirals were reluctant to act independently, fearing they would displease the king. This hindered flexibility and real-time decision-making. Themistocles capitalized on these weaknesses through deception. He sent a false message to Xerxes, suggesting that the Greek fleet was in disarray and that many Greek ships were considering deserting. He implied that a swift Persian attack at dawn would ensure victory before the Greeks could escape. Xerxes, eager for a decisive blow, took the bait and ordered his fleet into the narrow Salamis straits under cover of night to block any potential Greek retreat. By morning, the Persian fleet found itself trapped in confined waters, where their numerical advantage became a liability. The Greek triremes, designed for maneuverability and ramming tactics, had the upper hand. Themistocles had positioned his forces in a crescent formation, allowing them to strike as the disorganized Persian fleet attempted to deploy. The narrow straits prevented the Persians from executing their standard encirclement tactics, forcing their ships into a chaotic melee. Xerxes had underestimated the importance of terrain in naval combat. His larger, less agile ships struggled to coordinate attacks, while Greek rowers, well-trained and operating in familiar waters, used the geography to their advantage. Themistocles had orchestrated a tactical masterpiece, turning the Persian army's overwhelming strength into a strategic weakness. The battle was no longer a test of numbers, but of discipline, cohesion, and adaptability, all of which favored the Greeks. As dawn broke over the Straits of Salamis, the Persian fleet, under orders from Xerxes I, advanced into the narrow waters, expecting to catch the Greek fleet in retreat. Instead, they found the Greek triremes fully deployed and ready for battle. Themistocles' deception had worked. The Persian commanders had taken the bait, sailing into a bottleneck where their numerical advantage became a liability. With their ships packed tightly together, maneuvering was difficult, chaotic, and disorganized. The Greek fleet, approximately 370 triremes strong, was arranged in a crescent formation, with its flanks protected by the coastline. The Persian fleet, estimated at 600 to 1,200 ships, struggled to coordinate its attack as the confined waters made it nearly impossible for their ships to maneuver effectively. Themistocles had positioned his forces to maximize their mobility while forcing the enemy into a state of confusion. As the battle commenced, the Greek triremes surged forward, their bronze rams smashing into the Persian vessels. The heavier Persian ships, more suited to open-water engagements, found themselves unable to turn quickly enough to counter the Greek assault. One by one, Persian ships were rammed, boarded, and sunk, their crews thrown into the sea or cut down by hoplite marines. The Phoenician fleet, considered the most formidable of the Persian navy, took heavy losses early in the engagement. Amid the chaos, Ariobarnes, Xerxes' own brother and a senior commander, was killed. His death further disrupted Persian command, as various contingents of the navy operated with conflicting orders and unclear leadership. Some of the Ionian Greek contingents fighting for Persia hesitated or defected mid-battle, refusing to engage their fellow Greeks. On the Persian left flank, Queen Artemisia of Halicarnassus, one of Xerxes' most capable naval commanders, managed to evade destruction by outmaneuvering the Greeks. At one point, to avoid capture, she ordered her ship to ram another Persian vessel, tricking the Greeks into believing she was on their side. This deception allowed her to escape the slaughter, while much of the Persian fleet descended into disorder. Xerxes, watching from his throne on Mount Aigaios, witnessed his fleet's collapse in real time. His once mighty navy, the foundation of his invasion strategy, was being systematically dismantled. The Greek triremes, still fresh and in formation, pressed their advantage, exploiting every gap in the Persian line. By midday, hundreds of Persian ships had been sunk or abandoned, and what remained of Xerxes' navy was in full retreat. As the Persian fleet fled toward Phaleron, the Greeks refrained from overextending, ensuring they maintained their defensive cohesion. The straits were now littered with wreckage, Persian dead floating in the water as survivors scrambled to reach safety. What had begun as an attempt to crush Greek resistance had ended in one of the greatest naval defeats in history. With the Persian fleet in full retreat, Xerxes' grand invasion of Greece suffered a catastrophic blow. The loss at Salamis forced the Persian king to reconsider his strategy. Fearful that the Greeks might use their newfound naval dominance to destroy the Hellespont bridges, cutting off his escape route, Xerxes decided to abandon the campaign personally. He left Greece with a large portion of his army, retreating to Asia Minor, leaving General Mardonius in command of a force still capable of continuing the war on land. Despite the defeat, Persia was not yet defeated. Mardonius attempted to salvage the invasion in 479 BCE, wintering in Thessaly and preparing for a renewed land offensive in the following year. However, the morale of the Persian forces had been severely shaken. Without naval supremacy, their ability to resupply and reinforce through the Aegean was compromised. The Greek victory at Salamis had shifted the momentum of the war. The following year, the Battle of Plataea saw a decisive Greek victory on land, where Mardonius was killed, effectively ending Persian ambitions in mainland Greece. On the same day as Plataea, the Greek navy struck another decisive blow at the Battle of Mycale, destroying what remained of the Persian fleet and liberating the Ionian Greek cities from Persian control. The significance of Salamis extended far beyond a single naval engagement. Had the Persians won, Greece would likely have been absorbed into the Persian Empire, altering the course of Western civilization. Instead, the victory ensured the survival of the independent Greek city-states, paving the way for the cultural and intellectual flourishing of classical Greece. The aftermath of Salamis directly influenced the rise of Athenian naval power, leading to the formation of the Delian League, which soon became the Athenian Empire. For Persia, the loss at Salamis exposed the limits of its military reach. Though the empire remained the dominant force in the Near East, it never again attempted a large-scale invasion of Greece. Instead, conflicts between Greece and Persia shifted to the Eastern Aegean and Asia Minor, culminating in the Persian Wars of the 4th century BCE and eventually, the conquest of Persia by Alexander the Great. Salamis was not just a battle of ships but a contest of strategy, leadership, and resilience. It showcased the effectiveness of naval tactics, the power of deception in warfare, and the importance of unity among the Greek city-states in the face of foreign invasion. Themistocles, the architect of the Greek victory, solidified his place in history as one of antiquity's greatest strategists, though his later political fortunes in Athens would decline. Would Greek civilization have flourished under Persian rule? Could Xerxes have won if he had chosen a different strategy? The ramifications of Salamis stretched across centuries, influencing military thought and shaping the destiny of the Mediterranean world. We'd love to hear your thoughts on possible future topics. What areas of human evolution would you like to explore next? Leave your suggestions in the comments, and let's keep the conversation going. As always, our references and further reading are listed in the description below if you'd like to dive deeper into the subject. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode. And do not forget, subscribe to The Knowledge